Hey everyone, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Kia Soul, we're going to be showing you how to install the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness. Before we get into that though, let's take a moment, we'll check this out and make sure it's going to work for you. So for those of you that plan on pulling a small trailer around with your Kia or even using a light up type accessory, you're going to need a way to power up those lights, right? And that's where a kit like this is going to come into play. So it's going to have a 4-way flat connector, extremely common, especially for the types of trailers that the Soul will be hooking up to, and those light up accessories share this style as well. So you'll be able to plug right into that and get all those functions to work. So this is going to provide us with our turn signals, our brake lights, and our tail lights. When it comes to actually picking out the wiring for your Soul, this is a pretty safe bet, and I say it because it'll work for those of you who have vehicles with the regular incandescent type tail lights, so just kind of your classic bulb, as well as the LEDs. So pretty safe bet, you know. And as far as mounting this up, you have a couple different ways of doing it. What we did is picked up about an extra foot, of wire loom, just to put it over the wires to help it blend in a little bit better. So you can get this separately. And on our setup, I don't think this looks too bad by any means. So wiring kind of drops right down, and then we just use the dust cover. If I can line it up right here, they use the dust cover to secure it to the hitch. If you're looking for something a little bit different, another option would be to use some bracketry. So, what's called a no drill long bracket. This would clamp to the hitch, which is tucked up here. You probably have to put a little bend in it, right? And then you could use a 4-way flat bracket to attach to it and more or less kind of permanently mount that connector into there. So if that's the route you'd like to go, you can always find these parts right here at eTrailer. Other than that, it's really about it, So if you're looking for a way to power up the lights on your trailer or that accessory, this is going to get the job done for you. When it comes to the installation, the harness plugs into the back of your tail light, so you don't have to splice in or anything like that, which is convenient. And it's not really a complicated process per se, but it's definitely time consuming, just routing the wires. You will have to route the power wire from the back all the way up to the engine compartment. So it takes a little bit of time doing, but hopefully, you can take something away from the video and make it a little bit easier on you, save you some time. With that said, if this is something you don't even want to mess with, you can always use our dealer locator network, and that can help you find a shop in your neighborhood that can do this for you. But if not, hang around, we'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Kia. You open up your hatch, and we need to get our taillights removed. So there's 4 Phillips head screws that's holding it in place. Pull all these out. We should be able to grab our tail light and work it loose. Pull straight back on it. If you're having a hard time getting it out, there is a technique that you can use to make it a little bit easier. What you can do, one of the tricks, if you take soapy water and kind of spray it there, sometimes that kind of helps loosen everything up. Or if you have a trim tool like this, you can kind of get in there and very carefully pry on it. To help pop it free. Rotate this over. That's what was holding it in, these little pins. All right, but we can disconnect it now. So you just push down on the center of the tab, release it. We'll set this light off to the side, do the same thing to get the passenger one removed. You're going to have a push pin fastener here that you can remove. Just take a flathead screwdriver, pry under the head of it. You can pull the whole base out, and that just gives us some more working room because we are going to have to run wires up through here and stuff. So I'm going to take a pull wire. This is just a piece of tubing, but you can take a metal coat hanger and straighten it out, or something along those lines. But I'm just going to drop this down. And I can hear it under there, but we're trying to get it to come out from the underside of our vehicle. And I'm going to do these two same steps on our passenger side as well. Underneath the vehicle, here's where our pull wire dropped down, right? And you can take your wiring and you take the end of it that has the red, yellow, brown, and white wire, take the connectors, and you want to tape them to the pull wire. And come back up top now, take the pull wire and feed the wiring up. And just from looking in here, it's pretty tight. I'm finding that if you kind of pull it at this angle, kind of towards the middle of the vehicle, it seems to kind of open up a little bit more. I'll work this all the way up here, and I'll get this tape removed. What you want to do now, take the T-connector, one end of it is going to line up with the factory harness, and plug that in. It'll only go in one way, you know, so if you're struggling with it, flip it around. And you're going to have a white wire here with the pre-attached ring terminal. We're going to ground that. I think I'm going to go right here in this area where it's out of the way, and that metal looks like it's doubled up. So it should be thick, and I'm just going to use the included self-tapping screw to run that down. Take your push pin fastener now, pop that back in. Take your tail light and get it plugged back in. And now we can reinstall this the opposite way that we removed it. Just make sure that your wires aren't kind of getting jammed up. Tuck them in there and push this back in. Back underneath now, there's going to be a black wire coming off of the converter box that's pre-stripped. That's going to be for our power wire. And so since this is kind of buried way up there before we secure the converter box, you probably want to handle this. You can take a butt connector, crimp that onto the bare end of the wire. And then the kit comes with this big bundle of power wire. All right, take one end of it, and this is how we're going to make our connections, whether it be butt connector, ring terminal. This you will have to strip. And then give the wire a twist. Place that bare end in, get it crimped down, and I did upgrade to a heat shrink style connector. The ends seal up, help against corrosion a little bit better, but the ones that come in the kit will work just fine. Just make sure you come back with electrical tape, tape them up real good. With the heat shrink style, you can simply get your heat gun and seal them up. I went ahead and secured the converter box. Not a whole lot of room to work up here. So what I did, I just took a couple zip ties and zip tied it to some existing wiring. So what we can do now is take our green wire and our 4-way flat wire and start to route it. So I just have them zip tied to the top of our trailer hitch here, where our 4-way flat wire drops down, and I just have it secured to the safety chain opening there by using the dust cover. The green wire continues along the top of it. When you're routing wires, do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts. Comes up through there, and just like we did on the driver's side, I taped this to a pull wire, got it up into the taillight pocket. So over here on the passenger side, pulled their wire up into position, and just like the driver's side, you plug it into the OEM side and plug it into the taillight. With this all done, go ahead and reinstall the light. Back underneath, we can take the bundle of power wire and get that routed up into the engine compartment. So I've done that already, and the path that I took to get it there, I just run it up along through here, right through here, and it pretty much just follows a lot of these factory lines. So just use your zip ties to secure it every now and again. These lines will have a panel, right? So there's a 2 or 3 10mm head nuts, and a couple of these style of fasteners are 14mm. So that's how you can lower this down. Makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. Yeah, power wire just runs all the way up to the front and up into the engine compartment. It's pretty wide open, but if you can't manage to get it up through there, you can use that same fish wire technique that we used back at our taillights to pull it right up into position. Up here in the engine compartment, this is where the power wire comes up, and then I was able to cut it to length, and then took the included fuse holder, crimped it to the power wire. The other end of the fuse holder, I took a ring terminal, crimped it onto there, and we need to hook this up to the positive battery post. So I'm just going to remove this nut with a 10mm socket. Probably what I'll do here, just so it don't all come apart, is just take our ring terminal. I'm going to cut a little opening in it. Let's tighten it up some too. That's it. Nut's kind of small there. That'll give us a better connection. I'm just going to slide that underneath the head of the nut. That way, if I take this nut off, I think everything will just kind of come apart there. That'd be kind of a pain to put back together. So I'm just going to hold it under it and tighten it back down. You want to make sure too that the fuse is not installed just yet while you're doing this. Make sure everything's tight, good connection. And now we'll take our fuse, place it into the holder. Now that we have everything hooked up, it's a good idea to test our wiring to make sure that it's working properly. I like to use a tester like this as opposed to just hooking up to a trailer. And I say that because if your trailer has any issues, it might mislead you, thinking it's something you did on the vehicle side. But with that in mind, try our left turn, our right turn, we'll hit our brakes, and our taillights. With everything working, that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness on our 2020 Kia Soul.